Tonight, it's the MLSR, as this evening, we're in California and looking to be dreamers. And then some. It's Fontana, California, as we're all set to go for the third race of the A-Open Series campaign, and it's here on Precision Entertainment. Welcome to tonight's coverage. I'm Justin Prince, alongside the booth for tonight's James Newton. I'll be also in the production booth for here this evening, using cameras provided by Whipwatch SimCams. As we get prepared for tonight, we look to go towards the booth as we count down to green here this evening. And to say the very least, James, it's expected to be an interesting night. All pavement, tough racetrack, lots of challenges when it comes to Fontana.
Absolutely. California Speedway Fontana, it's going to be quite an event. And of course, we've got the worn out track as well. Very, very wide corner entries and exits. So we're going to see some multi-groove racing, which is always exciting to watch. But we're also going to be seeing a little bit of strategy playing out, as well as, again, the track surface is, in the most negative light, abysmal. So the tires are not going to enjoy slinging in and out of these corners.
That's to say the very least here tonight. As we take a look at your schedule, remember, it's still early in the campaign with tracks like Iowa, Richmond, Texas down in the next few weeks here. It's expected to be an interesting next couple weeks is what I'm trying to say, because it all leads into that chase at the end of the campaign where for your top drivers, you have to be able to survive multiple circuits.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, speaking of top drivers, there are a handful of drivers that have done quite well, as we have the information popping up here. Again, looking at Zach Domer, Jake Loesch up at the sharp end. Basically nothing separating them at this point in time, as we're so early on in the season. As we see the cut line down to 10th, Richard Wilson Jr. currently sitting on that there, Justin.
It's going to be an interesting battle as we go on, and we will see these graphics showcase the difference from the total points to then the differences between drivers as we go about the season in this campaign. But that being said, let's talk about this circuit again. Auto Club Speedway is the name that it used to be. Technically, it's Next Gen California because there is no official name now in real life, with it no longer existing. It's been a multiple-time movie scene, yes, that's been closed since 2023 as mostly warehouses these days, but it's still a popular destination for drivers on the service.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we talked about how rough the circuit is, but also it is very, very easy to run side by side, which of course means that drivers are going to need to be managing that traffic all evening long.
And it's going to be an interesting night as a result for some of these drivers to just try and articulate where they want to be able to pass, better yet, where they want to go. And as we get ourselves in preparation for tonight, keep in mind a few drivers are in the midst of their qualifying session still at the moment. As we take a look at one Christian Barnes, right now you see just how things look in qualifying. We have more than 30 on property. Barnes bringing out his usual domino scheme here this evening. He's the only driver essentially to wait this late in the session, James.
Yeah, we were speaking about that off air, Justin, about how these drivers, they really want to get after it. If you have a look at the weather conditions for this afternoon's event. And Christian Barnes with the 27 Dominoes machine, one of the later additions to this session. And we'll be getting those laps put down shortly.
He's out of time to get it done. He's on the top of the board, in fact. It's Christian Barnes who's up at the top. New pole sitter for a driver that's been able to do a lot in the trucks this series so far. But with him finishing up, we're moments away and finding out where these drivers start tonight as we prepare for this evening's festivities here from California. Fontana is expected to bring some intense battling from start to finish, and that means as these drivers transition over to the grid session, it's time to find out how they'll start tonight from California. As they all grid up and get their cars ready to go, let's see how they'll start. Christian Barnes is on the pole tonight. Ethan Thompson's next to him, about near half a tenth difference in the order. Brad Harris will bring the 67 to the top 3, had some wild runs over at Indy. Jamal Love will start in the top 4 positions. Dallas Manis makes an appearance tonight in one of the precision-backed power plants. Zach Domer looking to see if he can be at the top of the dome tonight on celebrations. Pardon me there as this gets sorted out here on the buttons. Was about to say, for a lot of the air drivers like Chasen McCook, it's going to be an interesting night if they can pick up some speed, like Mike McCoy as well in your order. Joshua Wise and Jamal Poe are a part of your top 10, James.
Quite a strong top 10. We're only 0.3 of a second back to Jason Trocchi in the 46, alongside the 12th position driver of William Van Alstyne in the 23. Row 7 is Chris Echapar in the 99. The 14, or apologies, the 7 of Scott Matthews lining up in 14th position. 15 is going to be Christopher Toppings in the 43. The 97 of Adam Ramsey ran really, really well last time out at Indianapolis, lining up 16th. Joe Conan in the 72, Great Lakes Machine. Starting 17th, Richard Wilson Jr. lines up in 18th. Robert Burke in 19th in the 22, alongside the 11 of Ronald Breland, one of our top contenders in the 20th position.
21st goes to Jonathan Pereira. Next to him will be John Edwards here this evening. Then you throw it back to Christopher Reel. That will start down around the 23rd position. 24th goes the way of Dustin Cogan should say, for him. Gary May, though, is an easy name to say. He'll be 0.8 off the pole with J.J. Pope this evening. Also in the field, Russell Marciniak will start down the order. Jacob Lech will start down 28th. Was named the official winner after last week. One driver had some issues in the session. Connection-wise, Joshua Senek is one of the few drivers left. John Williams along with Justin Bell towards the tail of the field, and that is your last tab. So look top to bottom at tonight's running order here this evening, and as you can see, the field is getting all set to go for this evening's festivities. Let's take a look at your race analysis. 110 laps, remember, James, but the fuel runs expected to make it a 2-stopper.
The driver's going to be able to make it quite a distance, as we will see again how many they will have to actually take, considering, if there's any cautions or anything like that, drivers will want to make sure that they are staying up to date with what is going on track, and it can all change in an instant.
Happy with us tonight on Precision Entertainment for this evening's coverage as we're ready to go battling here in Fontana. The field is set, the greens in hand. Let's go racing. We're underway from California. And a good start down the back straightaway for Barnes, able to get clear of a majority of the traffic. You can see, though, it is a hornet's nest. If you go well down the order, look back here, you're talking 3, 4, 5 wide, a couple of the drivers back there to start.
Yes, a little bit of 5 wide action coming out of turn 2 on the first lap. We've now completed one now as they race across the line. Harris and Thompson going hammer and tongs.
And Thompson amongst those that did receive penalties. It's important to note after last week that race control did make a call after the fuel situation in Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Remember, Ramsey ran out of gas and got pushed by his teammate on the final time around after a few hours to review. By the morning, it was officially ruled that Ramsey was disqualified for the Brickyard. Ethan Thompson kept his position with the black flag around the 20s, and that is why the 51 got the win at a Crown Jewel racetrack. But here's the big thing about a circuit like this tonight. Track position going to be critical, especially if you're, say, Ethan Thompson here, because as you can see, it's hard to pass.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously going up the inside, but as soon as we start to straighten that wheel out, Barnes is going to have the advantage going down the back straightaway. So plenty of room, and just look at the compression on the suspension Even through the corners, the rear end is just hopping up and down, potentially some scraping in the cockpit as well, as drivers try to navigate and try to hang on to their molars.
Cena right there with just trying to get the track up for Barnes. Here comes Thompson up the inside. Will this work for him? You can see he's trying to get the edge along to the side. Here's on board with the 27. Compare that to the difference of what you've seen with the 98. He got the clearance, got it done just about, but not fully. Still side by side for the race lead.
Barnes not wanting to give it up, staying on the high side. Drivers giving each other plenty of margin, as again you see the difference in line is extremely dramatic here at Auto Club. As the drivers start to spread out a little bit at the front. Still a bit of 2x2 action a bit further back, and Thompson still trying to look down the inside.
Still trying to dig down low. As you see on board, you can see just how much this machine is trying to push ahead. Thompson got himself just about clear. Is it going to be fully clear is the question. The answer is no. The ignition machine still yet to find a way around. It's providing a good battle here up at the front. Watch this. If you're Brad Harris, you're saying, keep going, burn up your stuff, please.
Yeah, Harris hoping to be brought along for the ride. Kind of splitting these two cars who, again, are racing quite hard. At the beginning, we saw Ethan Thompson currently battling for position, has now got the clear, Justin. So it looks like the 98 up at the front.
Ethan Thompson able to take over the race lead. And now we'll look to try and pull off and away. Cleaner is king, but it's going to be so difficult to break away. There is one driver you can see testing out the racing lines. This is Chasen McCook looking to try and bring his Twin City machine forward. You can see just how much he's trying to use the higher lines to search for a different line to see if that's going to work. Try and build the rubber up there for later.
They don't have much in the way of a lead over the 91 of Joshua Wise, sitting just in behind. I think that McCook is going to try their best. Oh yeah, now see, we're going to the outside. We'll have to see which drivers prefer which line. Earlier on, I was saying that Ethan Thompson seems to prefer that lower line. At Indy, they ran that lower line, but I think, again, any driver's going to go to wherever the speed is, as the 7 of Scott Matthews striking the wall.
Yeah, Domer also back there in a little bit of a heavy battle. You can see them getting a bit feisty. Keep in mind, Domer already a -3 on the race today so far. Let's fall on board with him. You see him trying to fight hard right now with Echipar, trying to go back and forth for P8.
Pops out of the slipstream very close to the rear of that 99, and the ignition machine is going to come right back around, and I think this may be an easy clear for Echipar. It is, and there's a handful of other drivers on the way. The 014 is not looking good on this lap.
Yeah, not currently, but hey, it's still early on, and that's why so many of these battles are going to be interesting to watch. You see everybody starting to indeed move up. Mind you, a couple packs back. Take a look at toppings in particular. And mind you, some of these drivers like this are going to be probably saying, how am I going to preserve the tires? How am I going to preserve the fuel? Because we talked about the runs. Hold on, caution is out on the speedway. And it looks like we have our first incident of the night just like that, as we'll figure out where that came up to play here, James.
Yeah, having a look here on board, trying to see if there's any smoke up ahead. I couldn't quite see anything. Oh, now that's going to be the chrome number 77.
72.
I believe facing the right way. That's Joe Conan.
Let's see this here. A little bit better of a view this time. You see already had a moment with the 12 as well, and boom.
Oh, almost identical accidents.
Yeah, look at that. That was the 22
oh,
of Berg.
Man. Oh, and they did not glance off of that for the 77. Got that way worse. They got caught in the tires. Just up ahead. The tires meant to protect a car from basically being sent in half by the fact that there was a bit of an opening in the wall on the inside. The 22 gets loose right there on one of those bumps, tracks back up all the way across. There's 3 wide there, and then the other 2 just trying to take avoiding action, and because they're next to each other, basically taking each other out.
Puts us under the caution flag once again here, and as you can see, the entire field is already starting to see some contemplate pit stops, including Ethan Thompson. And Thompson, one of those that did provide their camera viewpoints once again here tonight. You can see him just taking the time, make sure he's getting to the pit stall here.
You can see him there in the machine. Oh, and he's missed it.
Oh, you can see. Yes! You can see the cheer as he missed the pit stall. But hey, he's only a couple down here. Not a big deal. It's only a 10-second pit stop.
Yeah, able to recover relatively nicely. Just in front of, I believe that was Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken, the 97. Just in behind.
Can confirm.
But yeah, some drivers really wanting to get every last second out of the race. But again, as you said, JP, it's still very early.
By the way, as much as we talked about with stops, you had Gogan, you had Williams, you had Lesh, you also had Barnes come in for a top-off fuel only. Do you think tires are going to be a huge factor overall tonight? I know California usually has that, but is that going to be the case?
I would expect so, but I think we'll get a good look as we saw how evenly matched Barnes and Thompson were. They traded a couple of jabs in the early stages of the race. Only about a 10 or 11 laps difference between Barnes and Thompson at this point, with Barnes having the older tires. So we'll see. I mean, if Thompson just finds that inside groove and runs away down the inside, we'll know that the tires are going to be eaten up over a relatively short run if you're driving basically as quick, as fast as you can go, right? 100%. And so I think that those two might be a good gauge of what 11 laps worth of tire life looks like in comparison to brand new ones.
As they all get doubled up here, it's Harris, McCook, Matthews, Manis, Echipar, followed by Bo, Wise, Domer, Love, Wilson Jr., along with Trotsky, should say, in the top spots here. This entire field obviously going to be trying to get to the game plan. As you see what the stints are about 12 laps through, and getting that fuel run as close as they can to trying to get things timed up to do well for the 2-stop, because the interesting dynamic about this race, with it being 110 instead of being 100 laps, for example, is you can't just say, oh, I can maybe fuel save, try and get myself one less stop. It's a lot more difficult in terms of trying to actually do that now with the extra 10 laps, actually.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It is very difficult and nigh on impossible, I dare say, for a driver to stretch that far. So you really have to change the game plan at the start for when you're going to go and when you're going to try and save anyway.
Here we go to the restart. As you can see, Bergamont's still with the damage clock, but everybody else is off and away. It's Burke. That's going to be one of those watching along with drivers like Harris, McCook, Manis looking to battle. Manis just joining the series in recent days. He's looking to try and have a good debut here. Has a temporary channel right now set up in the server, but no spotter tonight so far to work with. Look how feisty this is getting.
Yeah, definitely. Manis having a really close look at the left rear of McCook. Almost coming together, and they were able to fend each other off, but that 35 is not afraid to get right up in McCook's grill.
It's one of the few drivers in the midst of battles. That's because just to the outside of him, look at how wide Drivers are searching for the grip. That includes Matthews. Able to zip his way on the outside. A couple drivers behind them are in the midst of some mirror battles. You can see this with drivers right about here, like Domer, Echipar. You also have Breland also trying to get into some fights right now. Everywhere you look, there's a battle. And everywhere you look, there's contact possibly. At least somewhere. Christian Barnes was one of those who got into a bit of trouble there. Let's see what happened to that situation. As a bit of contact.
Trying to look and see if the 27 comes down at all. There's Ethan Thompson on our inside. Oh, and it's basically 4 wide for, I was going to say for a moment, for a while. It was like the 45 up into the wall at the same time that Barnes is trying to take evasive action of Edwards, who they're still behind.
Yeah, well down the order. Remember, fuel only was the call, so elected not to take some Goodyear Eagles in that situation. And as you can see, he's not having a fun time here, I guess you can argue. Take a look at this in terms of how tough it's getting here. A lot of side-by-side. And remember, his gamble is he's going to try and out-fuel mileage everybody here.
Christian Barnes taking the high line, and I don't believe that they're going to be going down low anytime soon. Do you think that that's part of a tire strategy, trying just to keep the tires in check, keep that right front from burning up as now they move to a little bit of more traditional line down low? A little more of kind of a wide in and shallow out. Maybe the 27 trying something on tires. But there is just a brick wall in front. Look at this now. 3 wide. Domer in the middle.
It's getting a little bit aggressive here. See the battle. Look at that. Domer nearly bouncing off cars here. Right now pushed down to 8th. And at this point, what are you thinking about here? Especially keep in mind, at a track where it's not like Michigan where the outside's dominant. You can make both lines work here down the straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is getting so congested as we're seeing drivers tracking up and everybody look, Echipar trying to have a look down the middle. And it almost seems like the only form of defense is going to be offense, just trying to get down the inside or find a lane that you can work and take opportunities to get cars behind you, not necessarily to overtake to win the race, but more just try and get some space, you know, get off me, guys. It's kind of the feeling some of these drivers probably have, as they're just looking to not have an accident.
Yeah, Echipar, just look at that. He just lifted out and said, I don't want any part of this. I want to reset. And those are kind of the big plays where you can tell how much he's having to work and throw it when it's squished. Contact. And it's trouble. Around he goes and several others. This puts us under caution. The 99 goes for a slide.
Incredible car control for the 99. Was perpendicular to the racing circuit and gassed it up to keep from having the momentum put them in the wall. They were heading for the wall, and I think they saved it by recognizing where they were, recognizing that they were going sideways, and basically dragging themselves across the grass, at least out of the wall.
Let's try to get a look at this here. And we've seen from the onboard, it got pretty tight. He was already lifting, and then I think someone went to the outside here possibly. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, the 91. And then right here, so we're going to go sideways. We're holding our brakes, and then we gas it up really hard.
Great save.
Yeah.
See,
could have been a whole lot worse.
Here's the onboard.
Yeah, we're thinking wall. No, don't get to the wall. And we're still going toward it. Let me just gas it up a little bit.
Got pretty bad, though, for Christopher Reel. Look at this. He's slowed up on the incident. How did he get involved? Oh. Wow. I mean, what else can you say there on the checkup effect?
Yeah, basically a car getting revealed. And not the easiest to see out of these machines, but had decent intentions. Obviously, going to be Breland, the car that is going to get the T-bone. Canadian Tire machine. Let's see what this looks like.
Yep. Avoided the first layer, but not the second. And might have got away with it too if it wasn't for this.
It looked like Breland was all locked up. And maybe just the tires were so hot that it slid down the track potentially. That was a strange one because the car didn't seem to be going anywhere. Obviously about 13 or so degrees of banking on the start-finish straight. 11 to 13. But still, that was kind of a puzzling one there. I couldn't really tell you why that car started tracking backward down the slope.
See all the drivers still getting repairs done. In particular here, looks like that is Sanek that ended up going into the 91. Remove the O from the paint scheme tonight, I've noticed here. There's one of those who picks up some of the repairs, and that 51 from last week is now up to second, coming up to 1 to go.
Yeah, Loesch doing a really, really good job. We saw them huddling down to the bottom. Very similar to Ethan Thompson. It seems, and I may regret saying this later, it seems like staying to the bottom is your best chance of avoiding any kind of incident. I think going to the middle is the most risky and is also the best opportunity to make up spots because you're not going to be going into the wall and you're not going to be getting pinched down to the bottom. And if you can get your nose ahead while you're in the middle, drivers kind of have to respect that a little more than if you're kind of joining a 3 wide, if you kind of see there. So I'd be interested to see if Ethan Thompson and Loesch stayed at the bottom. Ramsey there in third as well. Be interested to see if they continue to try and run the bottom or if they just kind of continue to make it up as they go along the rest of the way that the grid's doing.
Exactly. So again, remember, here's the big thing that we've seen. It is no off-screen. That's why a couple of the drivers did shuffle with the pit stop sequence. Look at the stint difference. You have Harris, you have Love, McCook, Kogan, Domer, amongst those who took pit stops, and majority did take tire sets. So the top 4 do have a 10-lap offset on their decisions on their pit stops. It's going to get interesting how this is going to change the dynamic up front. We're going to see how well this goes. Here's a look from Barney. All set for the restart. Green is out. Lap 22 gets underway. Clean start up at the front as they go double wide to begin at the very least. But as you can see, pressure is on. The 51's trying to round the top, or at least the middle. I think one driver at least clapped the wall there too in that sequence, James.
Yeah, a little bit of puff of smoke as they barrel down the back straight, and now they all fan out through 3. Again, I'm interested to see if this top quartet, as they're only ahead by about a 10th or 2. Ramsey kind of in the back of that trio. And now drivers going very shallow across the start-finish line. What's going to be happening here? 3 wide, almost 4.
Like they're okay as the Ideal Machine tries to run up there. Look at Matthews try and build up the steam, though. Into the door. Able to hold on to it, and that forces him down low.
McCook getting a ride from the 014 of Domer, just inside the top 10. Those drivers seeming like they're going to be trying to work together if they can. Yeah, it looks like the 014 and the 14 making our job nice and difficult, running line astern. There's so much battling going on.
Love just set the fastest lap. You see with the purple initially there, as you see how much they search around for the grip. Look at this, though. There goes Kogan even further back in the order, a part of some of the battling going on the racetrack. As Love's time is confirmed to be up in the 40.3s, still double wide much of the way as they continue to battle up the road.
Jamel Love flexing that 1 lap pace, took pole position in Indian A Open last week and ran in the top 4 in qualifying this round. So very, very quick for the 3 over 1 lap. Let's see how it looks across a race distance.
See him pushing a little bit tight, and how close you need to get to this wall here too, James. Just how much you have to have the car control and know where your machine is, and seems like Love's got it so far. He's the first of those on tires.
Trying to have a look at the inside of the 97. Ramsey in the ignition machine. I'll be interested to see what Ramsey does. The fact that their tires are about twice as old as the rest or majority of the field. This is looking like the 97 is going to be trying to not cause too much trouble. Just continue running their race. It's almost like they're in 2 different races. Let's see how far Ramsey can stretch.
You have to be really on top of with the gear shifts. Keep an eye on that right there. You see on the box. You can see just a little touch loose, actually. Possibly for him, as it looks like we may have had some problems here. A few drivers shuffling down the order as they all come across the line. I believe Seneca amongst those. John Williams actually was the reason, and looks like we stay green. Let's see what happened here. We'll try this one more time here, as that's now shuffled him well down the order. Here we go. Got loose.
Very, very low. And again, as you were saying, right, the bumps can be so brutal here. So trying to make sure that you are riding right on the edge of adhesion. But again, also being very careful with those gear shifts, which can upset the balance of the car, the weight distribution, or weight transfer, I should say. So it is not the easiest track. Even when you're going in a straight line, again, you got to try to make sure that you're hitting your braking points, and that you're getting the nose in, and also not driving too slowly, because it can almost be as dangerous trying to back up into a pack, as we saw earlier, kind of backing off and looking for a bit of breathing space, but there are cars right behind you that are hungry for more. It's kind of hard to find your own spot.
See a little bit of a battle picking up here, as you can see with some of the drivers in the conversation. You can see right now, this is more so the battle towards 10th, but an air battle to keep an eye on is that in that box. So a few different competitors here are having interesting scenarios in terms of the fight, and all of this as well. Still a pretty high track temp. That hasn't moved yet.
Yeah, it's still scorching. It's almost 120 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. So bumpy track, lots of traffic. Drivers having to find different lines. All of this is not good news for the tire life. So drivers trying to hang back. Drivers like Domer potentially trying to fight with other cars, as we see all the battle scars on a handful of machines. Next gens getting their elbows out for sure.
See them with toppings, for example, on the scratches. Absolutely. He's definitely having a bit of a wiggle. Able to hold on to it, though, and as you can see, he's trying to keep it stable. Running down low, gets back in line, gets back into the draft tray. Steadies things out that way. Now, the race lead is going to be something to keep an eye on here. You know why? Look at the 3. He looks on his own here, right? Wrong. He's got a drafting partner for 1, and 2, he's closed up 2 tenths in the past 2 laps.
Milov really looks like they're on the way, as we see it right there. 2 tenths of a lap last time by, but that gap is shrinking. The advantage to the 3 is growing. The trick is how much does Ethan Thompson want the lead at this point? As you said, JP, this is potentially going to be a battle for track position in terms of the strategy. How hard can Love push Thompson to potentially use up their stuff? Or does the 98 think, well, if I can just sit behind one car, I'll get him later on, no big deal. But with the pace that the 3 has, I don't know if it's going to be anything but a big deal as they both track out really wide up into the wall for us, and Ethan Thompson sliding out of 4 as well.
Is there going to be damage, though, to the front of that machine? Here comes the 51. Lesh able to dive to the inside, pass on by, and now, is that going to be a problem here? Can't really tell from that angle, but as you can see, it looks okay. I was about to say he had been having an awkward way of shifting down the front, but now the problem is he's going to have to make sure he doesn't bleed any more spots to a hard-charging Brad Harris, who is next on his strategy.
Yeah, Harris able to pick off Ramsey, who's still running quite well up in the fight, considering that they are on that alternate strategy. And Love electing not to go around Loesch last time by, gave him a little bit of a tap on the back straight.
Did see a little bit of a drop down the order for Etchipar, so I think there's an error issue for the 99 machine for a moment. I think for now, though, they're steady. Don't look now. Remember Christian Barnes when he took his strategy gamble? Well, he is doing something with it. As you can see from the blimp, he's got himself a good line working, and he's up to 7th. In fact, up to 6th, in fact, with a pass on the Cook.
Yeah, only 2.5 seconds back from Thompson, who again has 0.8 back to Jamel Love, who's kind of settled back down in 2nd position. The top 2 gaps quite large, and Barnes only has 1 second up to Brad Harris. That 27 is making some moves. Yeah, there you go. So there's the race complexion right there, and Barnes is absolutely in this.
Second did change. Love retook second off screen as well. So look how much Love's already built this gap. This is the difference to the leader. It's back in within 0.6. Hold on, something's going on with the 8 possibly. Yes, it's a bit of a hard battle. They have been bouncing around a bit in the order amongst those in the teens. Look at that with Domer again.
Fanning out constantly as we see the 014 down the inside, 3 wide, and it looks like the driver on top is that Poe in the 8, I believe. Apologies, the 91. That's Joshua Wise almost into the wall again. A lot of right front scrapes on these next-gen machines. They bounce their way into 3.
And we learned this at Indy in particular. It may look cosmetically okay, the car, but as they reach lap traffic for the first time here today, the big thing about everything in all this is, quite simply, if you have any sort of internal damage or suspension damage, you're not going to see that from the exterior. You're going to feel it in the steering wheel, in particular in your car. Race lead, though.
Ethan Thompson most likely feeling the pressure from behind.
You see right now, staying now within 0.2 after almost losing the chance before. The opportunity's there again amongst these top drivers. By the way,
we saw
top 4 is broken away by a second, James.
Absolutely. As we saw Ethan Thompson trying to break the toe down the straightaway, they know how close the 3 is, and they know that the 3 has the pace. The trick was that big mistake that dropped him to 3rd behind Harris. So the 3 is on the way. The 98 knows it and is trying to shake them off.
You can see that difference here from the blimp cam. A little bit of a gap of about 7 to 10 car lengths between 2nd and 3rd. Then your race leader, only a couple car lengths the difference. Up amongst those up front. Etchipar's just had an issue for the caution flag. And we're back under yellow. And it looks like we've had an issue involving that 99 again. Let's see what happened. Oh, this isn't good. Traffic.
Oh, it was the Napa car.
Oh, and he lost it again.
Oh, and we would go right up across the track. Oh, and into the wall as well. We skated so far from the scene of the accident. Incredible.
It's going to really start off all the way from here, as that involves the Napa machine that we've seen a little bit up the road right there. I believe that's May. Yep, it is. Trying to get around him and Wise, and it didn't work out. And see on the gyro right here, he thinks it's okay, and then the thing is, this back straightaway has a lot of bumps. It's never really stable.
Absolutely. So that's what happened. We basically gassed it up because we were good to go. So it would seem. So that's why we had a head of steam heading across the grass, obviously lifting off across the grass. That's why we were unfortunately able to track all the way up to the wall.
And all these drivers are down pit road. It is a pit party, in fact. As you can see, Thompson amongst those who have found their way to the stall. Who's going to be the first off that line's the question. Here we go. Barnes is the first off. I think he took fuel on me again.
That car did not move. It parked. They filled it up. Sent him on his way.
See everyone else come across the cone as they all finish up their service. But it's Christian Barnes who up front, another 6 to 7. That had to be 2 actually, not just fuel in terms of that situation. And this puts us to 70 to go when we get to the stripe. It's a good opportunity to find out what his game plan is here possibly. He has one teammate tonight in the ideal camp, but we got Christian Barnes on the radio. Christian Barnes, do you have a quick copy?
Yes, sir.
How are you feeling about this race and the amount of times you've taken fuel only or 2 tires so far?
So I've only taken 1 set so far. And I didn't want to take it whenever I did, but I accidentally did not click it. But this call right now is just to save an extra set just in case later on we get some kind of really late caution and one lead a set. So I might lose a decent amount of spots here, but hopefully it's a good price to pay for now.
Overall, how would you describe the feel of this car that you guys have set up for here for a track that still gets some good official race use, but is still pretty challenging for the next gen machine?
Yeah, you really got to move around, and the track is pretty hot right now, so it gets a little bit slick, but once the long run sets in, it gets very tight, so you really want to save those tires and not abuse them early on.
Once you get back to your team, good luck here.
Thank you very much.
Back to ideal goes Christian Barnes. And it sounds like it's not as optimal strategy, James, but it is the strategy that's helping him in case things get wild later and you eventually, if you need to get a good set of Goodyear Eagles.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it looks like it's a good run from the 27, and obviously it's very much a race for the 27 where they're going to be kind of now and later, right? They may be losing spots here right at the beginning, and they're going to be trying to come back for all of it right at the end. That seems to be the way that they're going to try to leapfrog this field and stay at the front.
See the pit stop times, by the way. Looks like Trocky did take a different pit cycle. He only had 8 seconds in the boxes. Poe behind McCook. You see McCook actually save some time down on pit road for a sequence amongst the front runners. Here we go. Restart time. Green is out. We're back on our way as Barney waves the green with happiness. And as somebody has a barbecue down on pit road, the battles are on up front.
Almost want to lean my head out of the commentary booth and see what the smell is to try to identify what was going on there. As we see them all barrel their way down the back straight. Trocky's got a pretty good gap up to the 51 of Loesch. As a humongous battle for the lead. Love going for it against Barnes.
Here we go. Side by side they work. Who gets the edge here? Here's the look from the drones. Right now, Love trying to find himself to the lead for the first time today. He's been in the conversation now 2 different times for the lead. Yet to get the edge at the stripe. He got it last time. And there he goes. Love, able to get through, is now up in front.
Interested to see what the 3 can do now that they've got some clean air. Thompson trying to come at Barnes, who again is going to be running that high line, or I guess the middle line, I should say. And just try to be kind to the tires. Try and not lose too many spots if they can. But the 27 definitely not on the attack, as they're looking for that air from behind Thompson.
See just how much he's trying to fly around. As you can see, the different air leaders tonight. Thompson's led 25, Barnes 7, Love's now led 2, Harris with 9. A couple others have at least been in the conversation, but yet to join the lead lap board. Love, another fastest lap. It feels like Love, if he can avoid trouble, might be his type of night. Take a look at some of the air battles here. Look at this hornet's nest right here. Let's take a look from some of the onboards, because you can see how much Ramsey feeling a little bit of pressure.
Is absolutely nose to tail, as just in front of Trocky is the 27 of Barnes. Now we're trying to dice back underneath on board Ramsey. It's gonna be 3 wide. 46 of Trocky now getting very loose out of 2. Maybe opening the door for a potential 4 wide. There's somebody on our right side. No, able to clear the 91 way down low in front of us.
That was Sanek trying to find his way on through. Remember, was involved in an incident earlier and is currently trying to make his way up from the teens here, to say the least. That's how much the back off was after some of that battling up here-ish. When it came...
Drivers are continuing to battle, and again, the 27 dropping a handful of spots. Interested to know, as we got to speak with Christian Barnes in the 27 Domino's machine just a little while ago, how far down they were expecting to fall before they're going to try to turn the wick up. It's probably more like the amount of laps that they would run. As we see them getting very close and friendly as somebody in front of them strikes the wall. It's the 7 of Matthews, as McCook kind of seemingly the cork in the bottle. Barnes almost the cork in the bottle, as again they're trying to just hang on and look for a larger advantage later on.
Seen 6/10 difference between the leader's pace and him, and look at how much that push nearly caused trouble. All for about 8th. Poe, meanwhile, so far only up 1. You know who's your biggest mover tonight? Haven't talked about that yet. It is the 51, who's up in the top 3, who's up 25 tonight. You also throw a couple that are up near 20-plus spots as well, like Sanek and a couple others that did not get great qualifying efforts and are clawing their way up to the order.
Absolutely. Jacob Loesch in the 51 doing a really, really good job here in Fontana. Winner last time out officially. That 51 is really, really running well. Currently sitting 2nd in the championship points. So Loesch currently has some serious momentum. And I think Thompson maybe coming back at Love just a bit. Not sure if that's going to be any of Love's doing. But yeah, about a 10th or so. I guess they're trading blows, but Thompson... Oh yeah, the 98 way down to the bottom. That right front is being used up, but it is giving the 98 all kinds of ground on the 3.
So how do you preserve that tire here while also trying to go on attack mode? It sounds like a catch-22, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I think wider entries, obviously opening the door for drivers on the inside to come through, or at least get to your door. But the trick is tracking out and trying to use all of the available width of the track. It's a very broad entry and exit here at Auto Club. So I think that, again, that this line right here from the 98, that very wide entry, and then kind of cut it off a bit on the exit. So a wide 1 and 3, a more narrow, shallower 4 and 2.
See the difference right up here from the blimp once again. Little difference on the arc to try and get some cleaner. Tries to get the offset. Then right about here, as they make their way on through, it's a little bit more tricky. Look at the run being built up this time. Thompson providing pressure. They have the caution. We're back at our yellow. And we're
Well, that's now the second time here, JP, that these two cars have gotten so close that a caution's come out, it seems. It's almost like they're doing it. As we'll catch a replay of exactly what happened.
There it is there. Let's take a look at this a little bit deeper here. Was that on his own or was that too low? You can see he already hit the apron once.
Oh, just gassing it up. Trying to make the car deal with it and couldn't quite. Also couldn't save it. Again, trying to get back to racing speed. So they got all the way down to the apron. They hung a left front and right there. You actually see the bump. It's a really good view where you're able to see the car in front hit the bump a moment before we do. If we were at any other track, the car would not have an issue with the inputs. But because it was upset, the underside of the car most likely scraping on the ground. And it just shows you how tricky, again, just driving normally around the circuit is so difficult with all of the different nuances at this Auto Club Speedway.
Now here comes the question again, what do you do? Do you take the pit stop? Do you take the top off in terms of fuel? Because we're at 52 laps complete this time through. It's been that quick of a run. We're not at the mark of a fuel run. We're almost at the halfway point. It's a good time to switch to time laps to go. And now, I think that answers partly getting faked out. Harris actually, I think, came down. Yes, he did.
67 on pit road. I think that you would, well, let's see here. Quick commentator math, which is always dangerous. And there we go. There's my answer. So I think that you pit now, top it off. And then I guess the game plan is just a nice and simple come in once again and just kind of try to stay out of trouble versus making up spots. Anything else goes wrong. I mean, it's just such a big gamble there, as now the 27, finally they lift the car up and taking 4 sets of Goodyear Eagles. Interested to see what the 27 can do now on fresh boots.
Yeah, that's the second set, believe, of the race. There's about 4 total tire changes per the official session details. One fan did ask, I say fan, it's one of your commentators, how is Dallas Manis doing? This is the debut here, believe, in terms of the Cup Series side. And so far, he's been on his lonesome. Why don't we give him some company for a moment? Dallas Manis, this is the broadcast booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
How are you feeling in the Cup Series tonight?
I'm feeling good. I'm kind of rusty. It's been 4 years since I've done anything like this, but I'm happy to be here and just knocking off some cobwebs.
You mentioned 4 years. What brought you back to racing and then, of course, being in a league like tonight?
Just competitive. And then I lost my dad here recently, and he liked racing, and I actually raced in IRL in real life, and just kind of wanted to get back into it.
So sorry to hear that about your family member again in terms of that situation. And, of course, that spot, obviously, family will want you to race. You mentioned the rear-rolled side. How has that helped you with the sim racing aspect now that you've gotten some seat time in real life? In which series is it?
So I raced dirt late models, kind of like around the North Georgia, Northeast Tennessee area. And then I kind of just found this league through a mutual friend and then thought I'd give it a shot, and I'm kind of glad I did. It's fun racing with everybody. Hopefully we can get a good long run here to finish it right here, I hope.
We'll find out. You're up in the top 5 about where you started. Good luck.
Thank you.
Dallas Manis will look to try and do well here. Your thoughts on that? Because we're coming up to the start here in the next few moments, and he's been having a good amount of battles, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Looked very strong in the top 10. Has been in a handful of, as you said, hornet's nests, and had plenty of composure. And one of the points I'd love to kind of make a bit is that there's sim driving and IRL driving, and it's fantastic that both of them can inform you on the other one, right? You can do the sim to get better at real life, but you can also do some real life stuff to get better at the sim. They're both incredibly difficult.
I agree with that, and right now, this field is ready to go. Love, Thompson, Loesch. You also have Matthews, Manis, McCook, Poe up in the order. We're back to racing, just about at the halfway point. Not a great start for Thompson there, it looked like. Look at him, he's falling down to third.
Yeah, Loesch getting that spot. Well, I was going to say spot. Might have to put an S on the back of that word, as the 51 trying to have a look at the race lead. That's going to compromise their exit and blocks off the 98. No, they don't. Here comes Thompson.
Not able to get clear. Looked like he might have had a chance initially. Instead, the momentum just fell off, and look at McCook 3 wide.
It's extremely spicy. Loesch almost into the wall. And here comes the 14. They're still there. I'm interested to see what Thompson does. Tracks up a little bit, trying to get a better run through, and they are all fanning out. Look at the 51 go.
Yeah, fantastic battle forming up here. You can see they're all starting a choo-choo train behind now the 98. With the pass on the 51. You also have, look at Sanek. We talked about him on the move. He's right in the conversation, now up going for 6th.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys 91 trying to have a look down the inside as Loesch gives McCook no space on the outside, goes straight down to the bottom looking for the slipstream on Thompson, who is the better part of maybe 3/4 tenths of a second up into the lead. And this is still really, really tricky stuff. Poe on the inside, Matthews trying to hang around on the outside. We've seen that 7 get into the wall a couple times, JP, as well. So Matthews really trying to make sure that they keep their nose clean.
See just how tight the confines are up in some of the angles here on the speed. And all that's to say, as they are losing time to the leader. A little bit of a dart. Look at that. Christian Barnes is going for spots. Keep in mind, talk about pit stop counts. He's got 4, one of only a few drivers that have taken that many stops tonight.
This is the time where the 27, basically they've flipped the script. They've gone straight around the outside of Harris in the 67. Sanek, Manis, and Matthews are on their list as the 48. Edwards having a bit of a blink. And it may not be very long for the 27. Oh, as Sanek into the wall, Barnes right behind them. That'll give them even more of a disadvantage to the Domino's machine. If they're able to get by, this feels like a different race here, JP. This feels a lot more intense.
Yeah, you can see just how dicey it's getting here. We're about 2 tenths behind the leader, still in the train. Barnes up 3 wide. And, of course, as we know, he also races in a variety of different leagues. One of the top drivers consistency-wise in series like Mystic Racing League. Ideal brought him over to run in this series, seeing how he raced in that campaign. And now, it's kind of worked out pretty well to prove he's not only able to drive these cars in just a fixed series, like that one just mentioned, but open. Hold on, someone went for a slot in the background. Think we are okay for now as things go astern and wild here. 4 wide.
It's Dustin Coggin, Zach Domer on the outside. Down the inside is Cogan. Looks like that has sorted itself out. We're back down. Oh, and the 45, that has not sorted itself out at all. Ramsey into the wall, and the 45 collects the driver on the inside, the 57, and they both go down pit road. No, they do not. Very close call for Williams. They almost head on into the pit wall.
Williams collects the wall, and he's got some damage, obviously. No caution, though. We stay green. Let's see. Gonna get a look at what may have happened and transpired there. Go back one more time, and again, and also that 45 went straight up the track, it looked like.
The 45 is going to have a moment and kind of catches it, but then Ramsey's going to try to go for the outside, but the 45 is going to slam into them, and then again right here, oh, the car almost bites enough. We almost scrubbed off so much speed that the car began to join in line with the direction it was pointed. Oh, wowee.
Take one more quick glance because, I was going to say, he had a bit of issues here. Pereira did, and he went straight back down pit road because he spun down pit road. Let's go back up front. Now they go through the smoke screen. Look at the pressure building up behind for the race lead. Thompson staying within the draft. This is kind of what I've been wanting to keep an eye on here is, it feels something different is going on with Love's shifting pattern for when he gets up in the revs, James.
Yeah, be interested to have a look at the telemetry on board as you see Love flying down the back straight. Very, very wide entry. Do they go all the way down to the bottom? Yes, they do. So that's that very wide entry, very shallow exit. As long as nobody's underneath you, relatively comfortable line to run.
Look at this here.
In terms of shifting, trying to see what they are up to. So we're in fourth at the moment. Drop down in, we do not drop down anywhere until a little later on. Thompson at the high side, and now we grab fifth gear as we're going to make our way down the back straight.
I think there's a little bit of a delay in terms that by a few corners, but you can kind of see what I mean, though. You can see the little bit of the pattern when it comes to the delay and the offset. You're seeing this a couple seconds behind apparently on the data, but as he goes up that rev limiter, it feels as though he just, once he goes down that straightaway, jams it up and has a hard time shifting up. Caution is out. Back
Brad Harris, Joshua Wise, I believe.
Indeed, let's see. Ori Meatball flag for the 91. Oh, it's into Barnes to start. And right into Harris. Up the track on the correction.
Wow. Freeland and the 014 almost collected. I don't think they could do that again if they knew it was coming. Oh, you see a bit of the understeer. You see that the front end's not going where we want. We're starting to track up earlier than we wanted to. Trying to leave space on the high side. And we added a bit of steering lock and nothing happened. If anything, it hurt. The car up ahead. Again, see, it tracks up into the 27, but we're turning left harder and harder as the corner goes on. And then that next gen snap right in front of us into the 67.
What a dodge by Domer, by the way. Did you see that too? Just missed it. We'll see one more time from him if we can, because see this in particular from inside the car.
Freeland's going to get really close too. Oh man, both cars so close. Good thing they only have one coat of paint.
Absolutely. And as you can see, pit stop time is underway for the entire field as we're showing a lot of information at the same time here, and you can see just how much things are shuffling into the box, and you'll see just how much Domer is going to have to keep an eye on what's going on around and how this race goes coming off pit road. You see, he'll come out, looks like amongst the top 10. First off the lane was Christian Barnes. Guess what? It was fuel only.
Continuing to stick to their guns in the 27 camp. And it seems to be working out just fine. I think the trick, again, as they were saying, was trying to save something for a late race caution. So they're wanting to play the longest game that they can, uninterested in running at the front, and just wanting to have all the speed, basically all the power, right at the death. And we've seen the 27 have those kinds of races as the 92 inherits the lead. And again, Domer just glad to be in one piece, or at least to have the right side of that car looking pristine. As what a close call. The 11 as well, extremely extremely good heads up driving. And I would also argue that the 11 had the trickier time getting around that accident, as they only had about a car's length, maybe 2 car lengths, up to the incident.
Yeah, so overall, though, you have to keep in mind, in the case of the 92 for Kogan here, it's going to be obviously an interesting sequence. He was one of those who took 4 tires about 10, 12 laps ago. We're just about outside the fuel range, by the way. John Williams was the only driver to come down pit road during this wave, it appears. So with that being said here, James, next caution potentially gets you to the end on gas.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it'll matter if it comes out, and if so, when. That's going to be really, really kind of the only factor for that. But once we are inside that fuel window, any opportunity, I believe almost everybody's going to be coming down, because even if you took fuel just now, you know, or even if you're kind of fueled up for this moment, you're still going to have to come down one more time with, as we've seen, 44 to go.
Check one more time on some of your big movers here, if you will. Just so happens this puts the 9-2 as the biggest mover here for the restart. Barnes, Thompson, Love. Then Loesch, followed by McCook. They're in the top 6. Just so happens the majority of those that are now up front are some of your big movers. It's funny how that works. I say that with sarcasm. But hey, we're set to go with 43 to go for the upcoming restart. Here we go. Green flag is out. Back underway. And a clean start for the race leaders, as look at Love. He's applying the pressure. Side by side for third as well. Barnes amongst those in it. They make their way down the back straightaway. Take a look at some of those battles here.
Dallas Manis trying to go 3 wide is currently down the inside in the 35. Apologies, back in behind the 14 of McCook, so thought better of it. Drivers continue to be 2 wide, and really exploring the space. Now the 014 taking a bit of air off the left side. They're almost touching as they're trying to open up turn 1. And every single restart is proving to be an absolute dogfight. Still Barnes hanging around the outside, gonna still not be cleared, and now Ethan Thompson down the inside of Loesch and potentially Barnes as well.
As you've seen, Love took the race lead. Thompson nearly to the bumper of the 51, trying to hold on now for about the 4th position. Doesn't work out as a result of that checkup. 3 wide, look at that. Scott Matthews has been really daring on his moves tonight. This 7 machine has been really fighting from start to finish.
Yeah, they are. Doesn't look like they're enjoying the outside, but that seems to be the spot that the 7 is going hunting, as the 43 of Toppings very close to the wall, and it continues to strike it. I think that Toppings is fine with a couple of bangs and scrapes as long as they get the line they want. Able to clear McCook. Again, goes way out wide. Let's see if the 43 tries to go around the 27 as they continue to fan out. And Kogan still looking all right, but there are all sorts of cars on the way. And again, they are not afraid to go 3 wide.
Love is gone, by the way. He's ran away up at the front of the field. Barnes, with his call, has actually held on pretty well. He's now a part of a 3 wide sandwich, maybe 4 wide. Look at Manis. Gotta have to be careful. And a save. What a save for Christian Barnes with a hit from Manis.
That was a big, big decision by all 4, and it looked again like there's plenty of space through the corner, but it tightens up on the exit. It's still a very broad racetrack, but everybody basically had, it's 2 humongous wall strikes. Matthews and Manis really hard into the wall. They're still going, and here comes the 014 trying to make up for both of those spots. Nothing doing into 1, but this really is getting frantic as drivers are trying to find space. Do not want to lift that right foot off the gas.
Look at some of the difference between those at the front and those in the pack. They are losing time as much as they fight like this too. Love with clean air can run as much as 4/10 quicker than those in the middle of what is a hectic pack. And yet again, Senek with the save. That 091, very lucky here not to snap around, especially with the fact that Kogan went all the way to the apron to avoid the contact.
Yeah, definitely not the way that they want. Oh, and that was really, really close. The 8 of Poe. Van Alstyne just up ahead. Apologies, McCook on the outside. Van Alstyne just up ahead. 23 drops to the bottom, but Poe really applying the pressure on the 14. Looks like the 14 has got away, and now around the outside of 23 goes McCook on Van Alstyne. Chevy versus Toyota. And it looks like the 14 has gotten clear, but do they go high side or do they drop underneath? Yes, they do drop underneath Van Alstyne to the top.
By the way, change for second up the road. Right now you can see Ethan Thompson now is back into that position. He had fallen behind the 51 for a moment. Lucas in 4th. Toppings. He's gotten some great speed here. What's he doing compared to the leader? Again, that's been one of the main good things to look at. It's losing time, but he is starting to pick up time on these drivers in the group.
Absolutely. And we also are seeing that that's about half the amount of time that the main pack, you could say, are losing. They're losing about 3 and a bit tenths of a second to the leader of Love, whereas Toppings and Loesch only losing maybe a 10th. We saw about a 10th and a half from Toppings there. So in a much more comfortable spot, as comfortable as you can be as you see the front splitter scraping on the Auto Club asphalt.
How do you set up for that to avoid destroying the car and doing that?
Oh, man. Well, you're looking at you're basically trying to get the car set up where you have a bit more of a loose rear and a more compliant front. So you're going to be trying to drive the front in with a more cambered kind of setup on the front. As far as the rear, I think it kind of depends on how confident you are with being able to catch the car. Because we've seen a couple cars. We saw that moment on the back straight with Christian Barnes where he got all kinds of sideways from some contact. But if you've got the confidence to be able to save these cars, which again are notoriously difficult to get sideways and recover, then I think you can run it relatively loose, I would say. The trick again is going to be being able to run the car the way that you want to run it throughout the race, right? Even on old tires when it gets really, really tricky, and then the bumps come into play as well. So drivers also not too worried about the front splitter as long as you are keeping the speed up, right? If you're scraping the splitter but you're getting the lap time, then scrape that splitter.
On board with Manis. See how much throttle modulation has to go continue to the corner as we touched upon the other team members here, if you will, like Team Nepilim amongst those you have in this field. Fire for Effect, of course, a part of the teams. Great Lakes has had some good appearances here tonight. We haven't talked much about the team names per se tonight, but when you look at some of the dynamic of the teams here this evening, it's not been one team dominating the whole night.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't feel like one of those races where you can really work with a teammate. It almost seems like every man for themselves in terms of track position. Is the 35? Are we going to be able to save that? Coming out of 4, the 35 of Manus falling back to 11th position.
Caution.
And is almost stationary.
You caught it there. Caution flag is out. Let's see what happened to bring this under yellow. And another one off turn 4.
Oh, it spun all the way around. I didn't see that. The fact that it actually did a 360. And a set of tires gone as well.
That's not going to help at all. This will kick us inside the fuel window right here. I think he got out of the gas too late.
Incredible how late in the corner exit that happened. You're basically up onto that 11, 12, 13 degree banking of the start finish straight. Wow, that was late. I don't think we've seen another car get loose in that manner unless they were on the high side against somebody tracking up. And wow. Well, I will say what this is this is a caution within the pit window.
It's a good time to, for the first time tonight, take a little bit of a break as these drivers figure out their strategies. We'll take a step aside for a quick moment. Happy to have you with us for this evening's coverage. We'll take a moment to take a breath and watch Precision Entertainment. Welcome back to tonight's coverage as we get back to racing in the next moments. As you can see, some drivers still getting repairs done, but pit stops just complete during the break. Up at the front, guess what? It's Ethan Thompson that now leads the pack, coming up to 1 to go this time. And as you can see, plenty of others are still taking extended pit services here during this caution period. But the leaders change again. Again, 4 tires for just about everyone except for John Williams, essentially. But no one's been able to control this night, as you can see with the lap leaders. A majority of those who led laps are down to the teens now.
Yeah, absolutely. Most notably on the 6th row there, the 3 of Jamel Love, who has led more laps than anybody this evening. Had a pretty decent fight with Thompson. We'll be looking to try and get their way back up. So basically, with that pit stop, Love is just looking for the race to come to them. And with the pace of the 3, I would expect that they would want to just have this go green for the rest of the race. Trying to look at any drivers who may be wanting at least one more caution. But majority of the field going to be doing what they can just to make up as many spots as possible and find their rhythm, which, as we've seen, has been very difficult to find some space out there.
You can see with the stint differences, though, some did stay out. That's why in part Thompson's up here and a couple of the main others. But I don't think there's enough fuel for those who stayed out here. So I'm thinking they're banking and there's going to be another caution 10 laps. So right now, we'll find out pretty soon how this is all going to look with Thompson and Loesch up at the front toppings. Van Elstein, the taxi driver, up on the top 4. Green, green, green. We're back on our way. As you can see from above, clouds are starting to settle over the racetrack, but it's mostly 2x2 to start.
Bring up a great point. It has dropped almost 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So you see drivers almost 3 wide toppings getting overtaken by Domer. They continue to try to sort their way through in the top 10. And I think that, oh my goodness, these drivers really pushing on these cold tires. Barnes on the high side, trying to look at the back of Sanic.
Trouble!
Oh my goodness, the 92 goes around Kogan.
Puts us down under the yellow as we're back under caution. There's cars everywhere. And where do we begin? Well, let's start things off. It looks like the 92 is a part of those around here as things get sorted. It was a pretty hectic incident situation, to say the least. Let's see.
John Edwards officially with the meatball flag as well for the 48 as we're having a look at the 48 Ally machine. Ooh. Big
contact. But really, it was the 92 that was a real spark plug of this incident, wasn't it? Oh no, it was the 45 again.
That looked very similar to the other accident we saw earlier on. That was the 45 on the high side. I think the last one we saw for the 45 was a bit of a snap up into the wall, then came back across.
I am curious, was there contact with Love in that situation that may have factored, or at least took the air off the spoiler? Because I think he was on the bumper. Oh, he touched him. That might be on Love there, James.
Yeah, well, it looked like the 3 shot through. So watch the 3. It's just going to come from a million miles back. You're going to try to time this. So they've split the 7. They've split the 14. Oh, and there it is. So the 45 not having a good run out of 4 anyway. Fighting the bumps, having to back off a little bit. Car still unsettled, and as soon as it was straight, the 3 was into the back. Oh yeah, there's just absolutely blindsided.
Perfect frantic caution period, if you will. And now, as you can see, that 92 is one of many drivers down pit road with repairs. Well, this is definitely going to help with the fuel mileage, possibly, at the very least. So there's that. 25 laps to go. And mostly everybody who was in the incident came down and are the only ones who came down. It's a good opportunity to talk about what's coming up here on the network in the next few days. Remember, on Tuesday, MLSR continues with the Open as they travel over to Richmond, the action track. That coverage will be on the 11th of August at an 8 p.m. start here on Precision. Then on Wednesday, it is the Moonshiners Racing League. The GMD Janitorial Cup Series goes to Iowa for its turn at the short track. That fast short track will take us to race in 8 p.m. Eastern Time, once again on Precision. Thursday, you'll find MLSR take to the track at Michigan for Be Open at 8 p.m. And then it's Saturday for the UIS competition, PSS, will be a part of the racing action at Texas coming up. All a part of that tournament they started. Of note, not a single perfect bracket left out of the competitors that made them for their in-season challenge this season.
Absolutely love that. And of course, the season, or not the season finale, but the tournament finale is going to be where it's going to be at Auto Club right here. So that series will be running this circuit to work that out. But I always love filling out, well, not myself, but I always love people filling out brackets, hoping that they're right. And again, we talked about math and about how it can be so difficult to try and predict what's going on. Just predicting one race, right? Is this car going to finish in front of this car? You can never really tell, which is why we love racing so much.
If you look at the stints here, by the way, there is one or two competitors that did blend in with the damage cars. Dallas Manis, Jason Trocky are the two that blend into the mix. Everybody else staying to the status quo for the upcoming restart. We're down to 24 laps to go. Back underway. Good start for Thompson. Look at some of the battling behind, though. That includes Poe in the 8. It's 3 wide. John Williams, who rolled the dice because of his tire sets, is getting swarmed.
You're not looking good, kind of having to jump down to the bottom as you have somebody sideways.
Sadek is involved. And under caution, as that sees the field frozen.
Procky almost destroyed one of the Nephilim cars. I think it was the 7. That'd be Scott Matthews. So I think Scott Matthews got out of there cleanly, but right after the incident, so we're on board with Sanic, the 091. Topping's trying to drive it in really deep after going defensive on the restart. Now tries to track out. 1, 2, yeah, there's 2, 3 little shoves. Oh, and then Breland, one of the top 3 in the championship at the moment, unfortunately going around.
See this again here. 7 was the one on the outside. And then Breland jumping in last moment. Tried to dodge 67. There's the front nose damage you're talking about. What did he see?
I'm really curious about what this looks like. So again, we're gonna be unsighted because it's on the right side. I think the 35 is keeping us from being able to see, and then we have Toppings just in front, and the 46. Oh, and we just got. That didn't look terrible from that camera angle.
Still going to require a lot of repairs, though.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, again, puts under caution, and we do have pit stops. A lot of people down pit road. That includes drivers like Thompson here. And as you can see, a lot of people electing to stay out on the racetrack in comparison. You can see this is the time for a lot of those to take a set here.
Williams and Toppings staying out. Going to be taking up the second row of the grid on this restart, currently at 22 and 23 lap old tire. Actually, it's going to be worse than that. Christopher Toppings, I believe, took 2 tires, if I'm not mistaken, last time. Trying to check that.
I believe it was 4.
4.
He had a 10-second pit stop.
That's right. So the 43 in a little bit better shape, but still going to have some seriously worn stuff on this next time by.
And it's going to get very wild again now that Christian Barnes, who seems to be one of the hottest drivers of the series right now in general, up in front. Love, who's been physical, running to get through the traffic right up there also. First on the new tires is going to be that 98 machine. You can see him in the mix. And remember, it's one of those that has been throughout the entire night showcasing what he can do on the camera. You can see he's chilling. He's having fun. This is what he's seeing. Surprised he's not clutch and coasting a little bit just because you usually do that, but hey, it's how you approach the pace laps. It's a pace lap. You're good on fuel right now.
Yeah, Thompson always quite reserved. As we saw even when, unfortunately, the 98 missing their pit stall at the very beginning of this event. If you remember, missing out on that, we went to the driver cam and a little bit of a shrug of the shoulders, a little bit of a hands up, and gonna find a way to move back up through the field. Speaking of moving through the field, JJ Pope, currently on the 3rd row in the 82, up 20 spots. And Pope, haven't really talked too much about them. Interested to see what they can pull on this restart with the fresh tires. So going to try and get by Williams and Toppings if they can. Try to go with Chase and McCook potentially and attack the sharp end of this one.
One of the fire for effect machines, actually, that so far 10th at the Super Speedway to start off, and then 33rd at the Brickyard. Very polar opposite finishes, but if you can get a good run tonight, you make up a decent bit of ground. The green is off and away. We're back to racing now. We have about 20 laps to go here in this one. Look at this, who's up front with the calls. That is Williams, who stays up front. He was getting swarmed before the caution. A lot of this field trying to go 3, 4 wide down the back. Look at McCook looking to go cooking.
Had a big look underneath Williams. Williams tracks up. I don't think that... oh my goodness, they're so close to the right rear. The 57 almost scraping. The 14 trying to hang on.
Oh,
here comes Manis as well down the inside.
I think that's the 46. Yes, it is. That is Rocky, who takes a little bit of a hit. Stay green. Let's take a quick glance at what happened here. Ping pong. And that...
Ping pong indeed. Brayland again involved with something. That 11 has not had a fun evening compared to how they've been finishing in Florida and in Indiana.
Checking error on board. This is going to be Litlosh. You see that 51 trying to find a way around. Dolmer had to give him a break. And you're running out of opportunities to get some breaks. You know who's moving to this field most importantly, though? Remember the pit call. Manis came in with all those damaged cards. He's the fastest one on the track, at least last time by. His pace. You can see a little bit of the difference markers starting to come into play here.
Yeah, has a decent amount of breathing room from this almost 4 wide behind. Thompson down low with the 35. Has plenty of space up front. Oh, it has a big of a snap. Able to hang on to it. That will cost them crucial miles an hour. They need a very clean run if they're going to continue to stay out of that group in behind.
See some of them really stacking up behind Williams here. Those drivers really trying to hold on, as you can see. This is going to be the approach one more time for the fastest car on the track. Look at how much they're snaking. The 3's trying to provide pressure right now for that race lead.
Similar to Thompson earlier, we saw the 98 trying to break the toe down the main straightaway. We saw Barnes knowing that they need to do something. The 3 seems to be on the way. And again, down to the bottom. As soon as they're going to hit that apron, going to stay down there. Comes back up to open up the corner, but the 27 is really starting to feel it. And here goes the 3.
Inside, looking for the way to go. Looking from onboard love. He's to the inside, at least around the door. Is this going to work for him to make the pass? Couldn't get clear yet down the straightaway, but Barnes will at least work the middle. Barnes, who has the better run, able to defend as we come up to 15 laps to go.
Fantastic duel out front. Only 15 laps to go in this one. as the 27 still holds the lead. Love looks like they might have the faster car, but it's bringing the other cars back into play, as we've seen the 27 of Barnes able to hang on at the start from Thompson on the outside. So the 27, no stranger to that run. And look at the 35 on the way.
Big run coming up. That's for Manis. Get an awkward shift for Love to the corner. Now the interesting part of this is Love had speed of the Brickyard, but ended up falling down to 35th. He hit the wall near contact. Able to hold on to it. Here comes Manis. Manis looking for P2 to the door. Moves him up the racetrack. Chargers back on as that's allowed McCook to get back into it. Now, can Manis get there? He's got the better Goodyear Eagles. But remember, Ethan Thompson throw it back into the orders in the same boat.
The top 6 split by 1 second, JP, as the 3 has to go down low. McCook on the outside. They're all looking for that draft. Where is the 27?
Caution.
They're all the way to the apron.
Caution flag is out. And we're back under yellow. And all of a sudden, this gets interesting as the field gets bunched up. We'll see if we can sort out where that may have came from.
There's so many cars that are looking really ugly on the front. It's on board with JJ Pope, I believe.
Yep, just curling the mitts to search around, if you will, because don't think anyone really snapped around to bring out the yellow flag, it seems. But could be anybody that caused a problem there in that sequence. Yes, there it is. You just seen it. That's why he was 25th. It's Breland.
Not another one for the 11. Oh, my goodness.
See this one more time from the gyro.
Robert Burke, the 22. A lot of steering input as well, trying to find... Oh, there's somebody down our inside. And it looked like potentially just got dumped.
Yeah, you mentioned it looked like Burke, right?
I believe it was the 22. Yeah, so down the inside.
A little further back. As timing does its thing, let's see this again from Burke. Right here.
Sling out of 2 down the back straight. Breland's going to go nice and wide. 22 going to say, oh, the door is open. Going to have a look down the inside. And from that angle, it looked a lot more like the 11 trying to have a bit of a late apex, but there was a car there. Didn't seem like the 22 really came up in a way that would unsettle the 11.
And so that puts us into the caution period once again. And now it gets interesting for what we do. We're coming up to 11 to go when we did have a couple like Toppings and Williams take pit stops here. But everyone else seems to be electing to keep it out. I think much of the field might be out of tire sets.
Yeah, never a good feeling. Obviously, we don't have too far to go when you got drivers with the speed that they have right in behind you. Barnes is going to be obviously looking over their shoulder. What a tricky time to have a caution as well. There's just enough laps to settle into a bit of a rhythm, but it's not enough to really kind of carve your way through the field. You can't really have any patience at this stage. You're still going to have to go for it. And I think a couple of the really quick drivers have kind of shown their cards. I think Christian Barnes kind of has a good eye for how quick Manis was after getting to see maybe 2 or 3 laps of the 35's line. I'm curious to see if the 35 is able to get to Barnes. If the 35 tries to go high and take away Barnes's favorite outside defensive line. This is going to be a chess match from here.
So this will set us up for a 10-lap dash. Manis, we talked with him earlier, mentioned he hasn't raced about 3-4 years on the sim. Usually runs with teams like Dig outside the series. And tonight, looking to do well in a debut. He's going to try and find a way to lead for the first time. Remember, he's got fresher tires than many of the drivers in front, but here's the big part. Ethan Thompson, if you look at that last pit lap, has a little bit fresher Goodyear Eagles. Is there enough time for him to use them on the short run, or has that been equalized out by this point? It's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting for how this field ends things off tonight. Once again from California. Pace car is off. Let's go up to the flag stand because the field is set for 10 more laps. About 20 more miles from Auto Club. Not a great start for Manis, possibly. He's already having to try and dig on the inside.
Breland in the 11. Oh my goodness, as they're getting into the side-by-side act, and there's no space at all, so the 3 gets shoved up. The 7, Matthews, goes all the way to the bottom. It's going to get swamped by the entire field. It's happened immediately.
Able to hold on to it, though. That's the huge part. Look who's up there. Ramsey's up to 4th with this. See how much they're trying to snake up in front. Look at this as he tries to make the pass. They're trying to break the toe, at least Barnes is, knowing the speed coming up, and Ramsey's going after it. He's on the same sequence as the 35.
Cook brave around the outside. Plenty of margin left considering how close they are, as Barnes still trying to break the toe. Man is still right in line. And here comes Poe on the inside of Domer, who was wiggling their tires, trying to get those Goodyear Eagles into the optimum temp. And this is absolutely frantic, as it looks like the run for Thompson may not be happening. I was thinking as we were coming to the restart that it would need to be some battling up in the front for Thompson to get a good look, as now into... I was going to say into the back of the 8 almost, and now it's 3 wide off of 2.
That time's not working the right way. Look at that interval after this restart. Turning times in the 40.5s while the leaders are running 40.1s at the moment. They're the only ones doing that, by the way. And now as we come to 7 to go. Oh, and a clearance! There goes the taxi driver. That brings us back under caution. And he went into the grass after the incident as well. Let's see what happened. It looked like he was trying to clear up, didn't he?
Yeah, and Lotion there as well. All the 51 could not turn further left. Of course, straightaway here, not straight at Auto Club, so you're already turning left about as much as you can. And if you turn any further left, you're not gonna move more to the inside of the track, is my point. You're just going to be spinning it versus that kind of strike right there. So the 51, really unfortunate for them. So you smoke screen the rest of the field and go to the grass.
That's what puts us under caution yet again here, as he'll try and slalom his way back to some positions here. But that means another reset. Christian Barnes, we talked about him. Manis is up there. How about McCook? He's one of those who, again, has not led a lap tonight. The 14 so far this season. Second to start off the season at Daytona, but 23rd at the Brickyard. Very polar opposites for the 14 machine earlier on in the races. And now today, he's been trying to really impress here, and I think he might be in a good spot if the leaders battle here up front.
Absolutely. And speaking of kind of polarizing, we've seen some of these restarts where the driver right in behind the leader is able to time it just right. We've seen some really good restarts from the inside. So if McCook can go with Barnes, that's going to put them in good stead. Again, Ethan Thompson starting around 6th on the last restart. We see Jonathan Pereira in the 45, who has not had the easiest day. Quite an understatement, actually, I would say, for the 45. Still currently running, which is good news for them, but they probably would have wanted more from Auto Club. And I think that Dallas Manis may be in the opposite camp there, looking like they're going to be having a good shot at the win. But they'd have to go through the 27, who again has been on the alternate strategy and has played it in kind of a funky way, but it has been working out.
Yeah, it's been another one of those nights where, yes, there's been a fair bout of attrition. We're right now down to about 19 cleanish cars with drivers like the 9, the 091, some of the others down pit road, for example. Van Elstein, you can see. Munso's also appealed down pit road. And as these drivers rush to get on the racetrack, you have to give them the resiliency at least to try and make sure they're in a good spot for points, especially as we're early in the season. You don't have a lot of opportunity to make up points if you lose a bunch of them or you'll miss a race or anything along those lines.
Yeah, definitely. Drivers are going to be thinking about the long game in terms of points. Of course, it's so hard, right? When you're sitting 4th position, you're thinking, oh, I can just, if this happens, if that happens, if I get the start I had two cautions ago, if it all shakes my way and, you know, maybe a dash of luck, I can get right up there. Christian Barnes most likely thinking, I am on ancient tires. And there you go right there. Up at the top, you can see all of the drivers who have been running for quite a while. And again, now it's basically all evened out when it comes to the front running tires, I would say. I think it's just going to be a matter of who has got what it takes to fight through those moments that lead up to the end of the race.
We're almost set to go here for the upcoming restart. We're coming up to 4 laps to go. How is this going to go for the front of the field? Barnes on 25 lap old tires, some of them in the 20s as well. Freshest are down in the order. We're back underway, and Barnes with a good jump. Look at this for second. They're bumping and painting, trying to help each other along. It's side by side for P2.
Staring at the 014 of Domer. What happens on the outside? Looks like it's going to be 2x2. Ramsey in a big spot of bother. McCook going to try to have a look. Now the 014 drops down low. That's a very good move for Domer, trying to get themselves out of trouble.
Right now, you can see Manis is going the wrong way. He hits the wall, coming to 3 laps to go. Battles are picking up everywhere, as it looks like we've got a caution. And I think that lead group may have just had something implode here, right in the backdrop, because again, this will take us to overtime here tonight. 2 available.
It's Adam Ramsey and the 97 missing from your picture.
Let's see this from on board. Oh, and the 14 hit the wall. That's what was noticing, and he was able to hold on to it until this point.
Yeah, this is one of those accidents where it just keeps on. Oh, it just keeps on going. When can I stop spinning? Almost jump scared by the 14. The 14 is basically just going to jump right at us. And we're basically trying to track out toward the wall. Oh my goodness. 4, 5 cars. Almost 6. There's 6 now.
See how Love got into it.
Almost the same accident. Thompson Thompson going the way of McCook, it seemed like, as both so McCook and then Thompson both went into the wall and basically jumped about a foot or so to the left, which is exactly where the other drivers had placed their cars. So it almost looked like, even if the accident hadn't happened just up ahead, that it might have been another accident with Thompson, no matter what.
I think there absolutely could have been a chance with the way that looked. Watch this. Let's see where you're talking about with Thompson. It's up the road. Yeah, you're right. They both smacked the wall, so that was both at the same time. And then Williams, he goes 360 spinning.
And there is always a chance as well when you're driving so hard that you're not necessarily, I'm not saying this is what the drivers were doing, but you can get in a situation where you're basically making the mistake that the guy in front of you is making. You're focusing on the car, and you may not be focusing on the exact positioning on the road. And so if somebody goes off, you may drive it in deep and go the exact same route as somebody else. So if Thompson was basically doing what McCook was doing, they may have gotten the same exact results. So it can kind of be a situation of another driver driving your car, if that makes any sense.
We are in overtime now, by the way. This is overtime. We take the white flag as a race to the checkered. It's as simple as that. If we do not get to that, we'll have one more attempt at a green-white checkered. If we get a caution before the white flag's taken on the second attempt, this race would then, in turn, finish under yellow, James. And this field obviously wouldn't like that. That being said, Barnes, he's hoping to stays out of trouble. We're away at 1 to green. And look at
Barnes
that.
just looked really good on restarts as well. The 27 has gotten quite a good jump. And obviously, I don't think that the 27 has really given anything away in terms of the way that they do their restarts. I think they get a bit of track position, and then within about 3 to 4 laps, the field's able to catch back up to the 27, and they're not able to run their line anymore. But we only have 2 laps to go. So I think that Barnes is really, I mean, obviously leading the race is going to be the best spot to start, but I think their restarts have been mega, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
I don't think so either, but we've been proven wrong before. This is the clutch moment, if you will, for someone like Amanis or some of the others here. If you want to win, you better do it right this time.
Absolutely. And I think my eyes are going to be glued on the 014. I think that whatever kind of run Domer gets for the back of the 27, yeah, this view right here is going to be a really, really important look for Zach Domer, who really played that last restart very well. Made some very good decisions going to the bottom and really got this 3rd spot.
Why don't we follow with him, see how this goes. This is the first green-white checkered. The pace car off in the restart zone. Look at the contact. The push along. Domer gets the line moving. We're back underway. 2 to go. Still side by side for second. Manis trying to clear. He needs to clear and get to work fast. Battling hard behind. But here it comes Manis. He's within drafting distance for that race win as they break the toe.
This is probably the closest we've seen the 35 to the back of them. They know that there's only 1 more lap as they head out of 4. This is extremely tight. Barnes has a decent gap.
White flag is out. Final time around for MLSR from California. Can Manis pull off a huge run? Can Barnes prevent any pressure? Can Domer send it? He's looking for second still. Right now, Barnes is running off into the sunset here in California. He's growing the gap and then some. Up front, Christian Barnes, mistake-free in the final few moments of this race, leading more than 30 laps. Christian Barnes, again in MLSR, will get a victory. He does it at California. And it was a good drive from Barnes. He played different strategies all night, James, and it gets him the win.
Yeah, big congratulations there from Zach Domer getting up into the door of the 27. Spoke to them very early on. You see a handful of drivers giving him a how do you do as really, really good restarts all night. And it turned into a handful of cautions right at the death. Lots and lots of questions asked, and Barnes seemed to have all the answers.
Here comes his teammate to welcome and congratulate him back to victory lane in MLSR. He's picked up a few of these, it seems. This is first in the Cup Series, though, tonight. As you can see, it's almost time for some burnout celebrations. Christian Barnes to the front straightaway. How will this burnout look? How about this? Christian Barnes, another win. He's been able to get wins in the trucks. He gets one in the Cups tonight, James.
Yeah, it takes a lot to win in different disciplines. You see them laying down some rubber, and a little bit of a jump from the 27. So we're now spinning that right rear exclusively and heading over very deservedly into the winner's circle.
I think that's about it, just about for the motor. With that being said, it's a strong effort from Christian Barnes tonight, who gets to burn it on down. We'll take a very quick step aside. Post-race coverage coming up. You're watching Precision. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage after some intense racing, to say the very least. A lot of attrition popping up, but the MLSR and its A Open Series sees Christian Barnes at the top of the board. Dallas Manis able to come back from a multi-year break to come away second in the sim. Zach Domer in the top three. We'll speak with them in a moment. Then you have McCook and Poe inside the top five, with Harris and Loesch down in 6th and 7th, respectively. Throw in the mix drivers like Scott Matthews. That's a good bounce back. He was down below the apron to the teens with a save. Van Alstyne was around. He was able to come away 9th, and Wilson Jr. in your top 10.
11th goes the way of Chris Echapar. Robert Burke in 12th. John Williams 13th. Jonathan Pereira 14th. Ethan Thompson recovers to 15th after leading a handful of laps. Dustin Kogan bringing it home 16th. JJ Pope 17th after running up in the top 4 or 5. Gary May bringing it home 18th. Jamel Love, unfortunately, down to 19th in the 3. And Jason Trockey finishing the top 20.
21st goes to Sanek with Toppings and Ramsey down the order. Ramsey was actually the first laps down. The last running was Toppings. You had Breland, who tried to turn laps to volumes of contact, 27 down. Edwards in 25th, with Wise, McCoy, Real, Koenig, and Marciniak amongst those inside the top 30. Also on the order was Dave Allen and Justin Bell. They finished well down the order with your DNSs or had troubles off the rip. Look top to bottom at your running order here tonight in this one as we prepare to speak with your drivers after some intense racing, to say the very least, here tonight. Obviously, if you're a part of this entire field, there's so many talking points for when we have these conversations with your competitors. Let's take the time to go down trackside. Your race winner joining us in the broadcast booth, Christian Barnes, gets the job done here tonight. Christian, how are you feeling about getting yourself a cup victory on the board?
Oh, I feel great, honestly. This one was a hard one. I just luckily that my strategy actually played out the way that I needed it to. Being off the tire strategy the whole time, just trying to do something different than everybody else. Kind of just take myself, put myself in a better position basically with the tire strategy.
Absolutely, and obviously as a race like this goes on tonight, and as we've seen, it was an interesting one from start to finish. We talked with you earlier on the strategies, if you will, here this evening. What was kind of that game plan towards the end where you started to keep yourself up front and get a majority of your lead laps on the board?
Yeah, at the very end, I kind of laid my bed. There were about 20 people still on the lead lap, so I felt like with about 15 to go, if I pitted, I wasn't fully sure if I'd be able to make it back to the front, especially with the tire, like the amount of laps that the new guys had on their tires. So, once we got to about that point, I just had to do my best to somewhat aero block a little bit, but also just keep the momentum off the corners so that I could stay ahead. And luckily, those cautions also came out that really helped me big time.
So with that being said, you get yourself a win in the Cup Series. We know, obviously, you're preparing for a championship quest in another series. What's kind of the balance going to be like now that you're battling multiple different championships and you're one of the top drivers in this series too, heading into the next one when we go over to Iowa?
Yeah, I definitely got to just remember who I'm racing and, the different series because going into the chase with another league, you just have a different mindset that, every point matters while here, I don't need to, send it every lap. I don't need to, make crazy moves every single lap. So just got to keep my mindset and remember what, who and what I'm racing.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
Yeah, I'd love to shout out Ideal Racing, Ideal Pest Management, Ideal Canine Training, Carolina Wheel Repair, Bird Wraps, and Mertez Esports, and all the other guys at Ideal Racing.
Congratulations on the effort tonight.
Thank you very much.
Christian Barnes gets himself into virtual victory lane tonight. And how about Dallas Manis? We talked with him during the race as well. He came away second. He catches up with James.
Dallas, good to talk to you again. We got to pester you a little bit earlier on, and you gave us some great insight, but you're looking at P2 here at the end of this one. Handful of restarts where Barnes was able to get away and able to keep you at arm's length, it seemed, but how was the race out there from your perspective?
It was good. I just seemed like I caught the cautions at the wrong time because I kind of was looking forward to like the longer runs, I guess. It's kind of my setup, what I was playing with. And just never seemed to get that. And then I spun out earlier in the race because I got loose and I didn't want to swerve back up into the track. So I just kept it left and went ahead and locked it down. So I didn't ruin anybody else's race. But other than that, it was fun. I loved it. I hated I came one spot short, but that's just how it is sometimes.
When it came to the strategy, how long were you on plan A, and did you ever have to stray from that? I assume with the cautions that it was throwing a bit of a wrench, maybe 2 wrenches into your plans.
Yeah, so when I spun out and I pitted, I actually didn't even take tires. I just fixed my damage that I had. I had like 10 or 15 seconds worth of damage, so I went ahead and fixed that. And then honestly, at lap, I think it was 86 or 88, where I pitted right in there with my last set of tires, I thought that the cautions were over, but I was totally wrong and wish I would have stayed out maybe one more caution. And I feel like that would have had me, but there at the end, I'll be completely honest, my tires were absolutely cooked. So when I spun out, definitely messed up my strategy.
Well, you looked extremely dangerous anyway, as you were. It seemed like you had what you needed to go get Barnes. It just seemed like it was basically the cautions we're kind of keeping you just a little bit behind. When it comes to the next round, we're heading out to Iowa. How are you feeling about that one?
I feel really good about Iowa. I did some testing this past week there, and I feel really fast. So I'm looking forward to that. Just work a little bit more on tire management because that's what I'm honestly struggling with right now because being away from it so long. I'm just having to get back into it on backing my corners up and not slide my tires as much. But I feel like there towards the end, I got way better and was able to drive back up through there and hold my own. So I'm looking forward to Iowa.
Is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
Yes, I would like to shout out my sponsor, Precision Setups. They brought me on board and are killer. So you guys check them out. Thank my girlfriend, all my teammates that were helping me out with this on the other side when I was practicing. Everybody that was watching that were my friends. So I couldn't do without you guys. And I appreciate you guys at the broadcast. And I'm happy to be here and can't wait to do more with you guys.
Well, congratulations on P2. Thank you so much for joining us up here in the broadcast booth.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dallas Man is coming away in second position here tonight. Looks like Zach Domer unavailable, it looks like here. So on that note, we'd like to take the time to thank the top two for speaking with us during post-race coverage here this evening on Precision Entertainment. Your final thoughts on tonight, James, as California definitely put on some interesting racing. Yes, the attrition was high, but we had some good battles throughout tonight.
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. We had 3 wide and some genuine 4 wide battling, right? We saw coming out of turn 2, especially with some of those drivers that, again, you really have to almost work with each other. Once you're in a 4 wide situation, you have to go, you know what? We all want to live. And so we're all going to make sure that we come through cleanly. And that's what a majority of the drivers did.
Indeed, they did. And as you know, next week, we talked about with a couple drivers, Iowa is going to be next on the docket. That'll be in August the 16th start time and date at 8 p.m. You throw those words the opposite way, it makes more sense in English. Regardless, it's short track racing, one of the fastest short tracks in the nation. They describe as the intermediate these days. We'll see how things go once again next Sunday. On that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage here as for my colleague in the booth, James Noonan, I'm Justin Prince. Just been using cameras, drive, whiplash, sim cams here this evening. We hope you've been enjoying this evening's coverage once again here of Major League Sim Racing, as we'll see how the drivers do next time. Remember, racing on the channel all throughout the week here on Precision. Be sure to tune in for the Truck Series on Tuesday, the B Series on Thursday, and remember, the Cup will be back on Sunday. Until that note, it's time to say goodnight. Once again, thank you so much, and goodnight from California.